Janice this side and welcome to AI Central. Today's topic is types of data. So let's get started. Here is the detailed breakdown of various types of data. On the basis of structure, we can have structured data, semi-structured data or unstructured data. On the basis of nature, we can have qualitative data or quantitative data. Likewise, on the basis of availability of labels, domain, dimensionality or sparsity, data can be further categorized. So let us look at each of them one by one. Now, for the structured data, as the name suggests, this type of data has some predefined format and there is rows and columns which represent data, and we can consider the examples like MySQL database or say Oracle database or spreadsheets for the storage of structured data. Now here we can see the basic details of students having their admission year associated in this particular column. So this is the example where we are having rows and columns as the example over here. Next is the semi-structured data. As the name suggests, that it may have some kind of structure but it does not follow the tabular format structure. Now we can see over here there are three fields as the key: first name, last name and birth date, and the values associated for this particular keys are Rosie Peters and this particular birth date. So there is no association of rows and columns over here, but there is some kind of structure. So CSV files, XML format or JSON format can be considered as the example of semi-structured data. Next we are having unstructured data, and as the name suggests, there is no structure associated with this particular type of data and it does not fit into traditional rows and columns. Now the posts that we do on social media in the form of images, videos or reels, so this represents the unstructured data. Now this presentation itself is the example of unstructured data. We can see that I have utilized text, images throughout the presentation and there is no predefined structure to it, right? So this itself is the example of unstructured data. Furthermore, we can consider PDF files, Word documents, audios as the example of unstructured data. Second category that we are having is the categorical data and numerical data. Categorical data is also called as qualitative data. Now further it is grouped into two subtypes. They are nominal data and ordinal data. Now nominal data, here we can consider it does not have any specific order associated with it, and we can see from these examples of gender, nationality and colors that, like if we consider gender, male, female or others, so it does not have any ordering associated with it. But to the contrast, in the ordinal data there exists some meaningful order and there are the levels which we need to consider while maintaining the order of it, right? So if I give the example of customer satisfaction levels, where restaurant is asking to rate based on their satisfaction levels, so it can include categorical orders like very satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied or very dissatisfied. So there is some meaningful order over here. And if I consider another example where if there is the high school, then bachelor's degree, master's degree and then PhD. So to the contrast of ordinal data, we have nominal data. Here we can see colors blue, lilac or green. So there does not exist any specific order for colors, right? So this is how we have nominal data and ordinal data. Next, on the basis of nature, we have numerical data, which is also called as quantitative data, and it represents measurable quantities. Numerical data can be discrete or continuous. So if we consider the examples of discrete data, we can say number of students are 55 in section A for class 8th and 53 students in section B of class 9th. So discrete data can take distinct values and they are often countable. So we can count these discrete values. Next two examples if I give are the number of likes per post. So one post is having 1000 like and another post is having say 10,000 like. So we can count this data. And if I consider the examples of number of players in cricket team, so they are countable and we can say 11. So these are the examples of discrete data. Next we are having continuous data. So this type of data can take any value in particular range. So for example, if we are having student details data and we are considering the height of students. So height of students can have the values between 5 feet to 6 feet. So between this range, we can measure the height of students like 5'4", 5'6", 5'1", likewise. So these are the examples of continuous data. Next, on the basis of availability of labels, data can either be labeled, unlabeled or semi-labeled. Now, as the name suggests, if the dataset is having particular label associated with it for each row, then it is known as labeled data. Here this is the sample raw data set of tweets where text is the data of tweets and analysis column represent the target labels like favor, disinterest or oppose, and each row over here has the associated label. So it is the labeled data. Next is unlabeled data. Now in unlabeled data there are no associated labels. So this type of data is used for finding patterns for the unlabeled data that we are having. Next is the semi-labeled data. Now as the name suggests, this is the combination of labeled data and unlabeled data. So if we are having the data set, so it is possible that there are 100 labeled images and 900 unlabeled images and the total number of images in the dataset are 1000. So likewise, we are having three subcategories for the data that we have on the basis of labels. Next, on the basis of domain, we can have 5 types of data. Now, first is textual data. So here is the example of a tweet which is in the form of text. Any data in the form of text we consider as the textual data. Next is visual data. So visual data can be in the form of images or video. Here we can see the example of image data. Now next is the sensor data. So sensor data can be collected from the physical sensors, like if we are wearing a smart watch, then heart rate or steps. So this type of data that we are collecting from using the smart watch, it has some sensors. So likewise the sensor data. Next is transactional data. So for whatever online transactions that we have done from our bank account using any UPI application or likewise, So it represents the transactional data. Next is genomic data. So data representing any genetic information like say DNA, right? So it is the example of genomic data. Next, on the basis of dimensionality, we have two subcategories like low dimensional data or say high dimensional data. Now in the low dimensional data there are less number of features. So simply means there are less number of columns, and here we can see we are having three columns: item, quantity and price in INR. So this is the small data set we have, and there are few attributes associated in with this particular low dimensional data. To the contrast, we are having high dimensional data, and as we can see over here there are more number of columns available over here, like starting from item, quantity, and likewise we are having more number of columns as compared to low dimensional data. So this type of data where we have large number of features is the higher dimensional data. Next, on the basis of sparsity, we can have dense data or sparse data. Now, in dense data, we can see over here in this example that we are having 7 1 2 3 4 5 6, yes, 7 columns, and there are 5 rows, and each of them have some value associated with it. So there are the values which are available for each column over here, right? So nothing is empty over here, so it represents dense data. And to the contrast, we have sparse data. Now in this example we can see there are few missing values in this particular example. So these values represent the kind of sparse data, means we are not having all the values, there are some missing values over here, so it represents sparse data. So likewise this is the categorization of types of data that we can have. So this was all about today's video. See you guys in the next video, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to AI Central.